Okay, we will try to do the final part of the topic dealing with the ending of this time and the beginning of the next time. The ending of the materialistic paradigm and the beginning of the spiritual paradigm. Kind of get a summary. You know, in the book of Revelation, scriptures are provided when you interpret them from the viewpoint of science, give a clear picture of what must occur for the ending of this time and the beginning of the next time in world development. The ending of the materialistic paradigm and the beginning of the spiritual paradigm, which incorporates the kingdom of heaven or the perfect world order. I talked about the beast that rose up out of the earth, rose up out of the sea. I represented the earth emerging out of a sea of positive and negative charges. Scientific evidence shows clearly that the earth is composed of 10 levels. And those 10 levels are the atom, molecule, compound, protein, cell, multicellular, life products, all social development, and all materialism, and all laws. Outside of those 10 functions, there is no other level that can be, major level that can be found that are involved with the manifestation of the planet Earth. So the scripture shows that he said, and I stood at the sea, and I saw a beast emerge out of the sea, having 10 horns and 7 heads. Okay, so the fact that there are 10 levels involved and 10 functions involved in the manifestation of the earth out of a sea of positive and negative charges give evidence that those 10 functions represented the 10 heads that the scripture explained was possessed by the beast. In other words, those 10 horns constituted symbolically the 10 functions that involved in the earth emerging out of a sea of positive and negative charges. I also explained that there were 7 heads that the beast that came up out of the sea had. 7 heads. Well, see, those 7 heads are part of the 7 horns. The horns themselves represented the atom, molecule, compound, protein, cell, multicellular, and all life function. But the functioning of those 7 horns constituted 7 heads. 7 heads. So, and then you had your other 3 kings, which are horns, which are all social development, all materialism, and all laws. Was now, to understand the beast that carried a woman on his back, which is also a part of the beast that came out of the sea. If you read the Bible, you see that it's a little different. And I explain how that difference occurred. It's still part of the development of the earth, the beast that carried the woman on his back. But the beast that carried a woman on his back was an extension from the beast that came out of the earth. And I explained that to get you the 7th head, emerging out of the 7 heads is another 7 function. Whereas human beings serve as the first function, the existence of human beings. As the atoms serve as the first function in the manifestation of the beast that came out of the sea, human beings serve as the first function of the beast that carried a woman on his back, and they are connected. Then you have the human beings, bonds between human beings, families of people, schools of thoughts, province or city-states, national department, and then you have the conscious mind of a typical nation. Then you have your typical nation given serving as the fundamental unit from which emerge 7 more heads. And when you get through those 7 heads, the nations serve as the first units, fundamental units, in the manifestation of the planet as a whole, social body of the planet. Then you have bonds between, alliance between nations, families of nations, products of nations, planetary government, planetary department, and then you have the UN and the social development of planet. I mean, of nation. So this social development of nation give rise to the planetary social development. That's a function of planetary social development. Okay, riding on top of the planetary social development, we have the proliferation of materialism, of spirit, proliferation of materialism. And that is the woman that rode on the back of the beast. The beast is the planetary social development because it's the 8 kings, the Bible says. And if you look at it, those 7 mountains extending from nations, you have the second mountain would be alliance between nations, the third one, families of nation, the fourth one, nation products of nation. And the fifth, the planetary government, and the sixth would be planetary department, and the seventh is the UN and the development of nation. And the eighth is the planetary social development that emerged on top of those 7 mountains. All this can be explained scientifically. You know, the scientific community and the church will only have to look into this and see that this is the clear roadmap that God has given us once we interpret the scripture from the viewpoint of science, and how this ending of time is to occur. You see, it's amazing, and I explained this in the other section, how the scripture, when God gave the scripture to the holy men a long time ago, they could only interpret the scripture from the viewpoint of superstition and the supernatural, because that's that mindset that they had during that early period of development. People's mind were oriented towards superstition, magic, and the supernatural. But it's amazing how those same scriptures may be interpreted from the viewpoint of science. And when we interpret those scriptures from the viewpoint of science, then we get a more applicable understanding of how this thing is to occur. An understanding that we can apply today. We can never bring about the kingdom of heaven dealing with superstition if you interpret the scripture from a literal perspective, as we've done conventionally. We will never, superstition and impracticality can never give rise to a reality in which we could use to even imagine the kingdom of heaven that we could help bring in onto the earth. We've got to, the reality that we deal with today, and I'm sure everybody knows this, is founded on scientific facts. You know, you can go into your boss and your job and talk supernatural and superstition about something occurring within your work. You would deal with him with facts that he could prove scientifically. That's the same way we've got to understand the Bible, and it's just a miracle that God, well, it shows His goodness to human beings with a range of scriptures so they can be interpreted from the viewpoint of science. And when we interpret the scripture from the viewpoint of science, we see that this 8th king, which the Bible says is the beast, consists of the social planetary social development. And we know, if we just use our imagination, observation, that nations are involved with the proliferation of materialism. That's what the world is all about, to build up the earth materialistically. You see, we just look out and see what the nation is about. So this is the spirit that rides on top of the planetary development, the spirit of Babylon. And God gave us a description of the demeanor of Babylon. We can also see that Babylon, as I said in the book of Revelation, explains about how you got all kind of activities, you know, dealing with materialism going on in Babylon, buying and selling of souls, you know, and all type of fine goods, where the merchants are involved and the kings are involved with Babylon. And we see that this is happening in the world. So we see that the Bible can be interpreted from the science. This is something that God given to me in the Revelation. So we see that, okay, this is the beast that came about earth, and the beast that rose out of the sea. And we see that extending from the beast that rose out of the sea, which is, they are connected, is the beast that carried the woman on its back. And the beast that carried the woman on its back is symbolic of the planetary social development, and we see that the woman that rides on the back of the beast is the spirit of the proliferation of materialism of Babylon. All right, now there's another force that's running this whole thing, is the spirit of the dragon. Of course, in Revelation, we know that the lamb, which is an idea, and we'll see that the dragon is an idea. You know, they're enemies. But the dragon is control of everything. The dragon is. The dragon is the idea of some things made are evil or are not made by God. And as I explained, we got that from Adam and Eve when they ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And this is giving the beast his power. The Bible says in Revelation, when it's explained by the beast, lo, and I saw a beast emerge out of the sea, and he said that the beast gets his power from the dragon. You see, we can see that. Okay, we're just giving an example. I'm not going to an example, but we're giving an example. Say like the automobile industry in America. You got Fords and you got General Motors. All right, so if Ford come out with an automobile this year that all the people like and buy, then that's going to cause General Motors to go to the drawing board. And next year, they'll come out with something that's a little bit better. And that'll draw all the people back to them. And then Ford said, well, wait a minute, we go to the drawing board, and 2 years later, Ford will come out with something better. And that'll draw all the people and the money, materialism, back to them. It's this type of procedure that's been going on with materialism from the beginning. So the dragon has served a good purpose. You see, this leapfrogging. It's causing materialism things to be perfected, greater and greater. This is the spirit of Babylon. You see, and we the people, we're going to always follow the best things in materialism. That's what keeps this competition going on. You see, so it's been driving, spearheading the social development by mankind. This is why I just gave you an example about Ford and General Motors, but this is going on in all areas. You see, with the computer. You see, you got in the telephone, or even your soft drink, Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola. You know, they do things that get people to come to their side, and then the other side will always do something to get people to come to their side. You see, and this escalation, you know, is causing the driving the spirit of Babylon, the driving material proliferation. That's the spirit of Babylon. So this is on a materialistic paradigm. Now you have so the spirit of Babylon, spirit of the dragon, is spearheading the materialistic paradigm that we honor in the planetary social development. But see, we try the Bible, the ending of this period, the Revelation, scriptures in Revelation, when you interpret it from the viewpoint of science, shows how you must end this materialistic paradigm, which probably will take generations. It's not going to happen overnight. But we've got to put a position where we can start working, establish a position, you know, where we can start working toward ending this period and moving into the next period, which will take, as I say, maybe generation, not overnight. But we got to become aware of what we have to do in our generation, you know. And the lamb that Jesus carried, he brought it in, and he wounded the beast. He wounded it with that idea, but it healed up from that wound, you know. But now we've got to cause that idea to be resurrected, and this time the beast it'll finish the job. The idea that God is the maker of all things, he offers a different paradigm. You know, when you believe God is making all things, then you don't have this competitive nature. You know, you have the competition is still there, but it's different. It's different. You see, all the effort goes toward serving God, and that's why you get your psychological gratification, not from accumulating material wealth, but from using that material wealth that you have. You see, and it's already started. I know we've had an example of some of the people, you know, rich people in America just give money out. You know, giving money out. They get gratification with helping people, you know. So God's already started it by putting it in their heart, you know, to help the poor and do things, you know, that'll help the planet as a whole, you know. Most people who accumulate their fortune always come out and do things that help the planet. And that's good, because that's just showing that they already had a spirit there. We have got to bring that spirit on out under the new paradigm, which is the spiritual paradigm, and this is where you get your gratification. Not from accumulating wealth, but for helping something. See, if God is maker of all things, and that's what the Lamb is saying. That's what the Lamb is all about. It's the idea that God, all things God made are good, and God is the maker of all things. Then anytime you can help something, then you're helping the world as a whole, and you get gaining recognition from people as being somebody who have helped things. And that's why people will be getting their psychological gratification, you see. So you have competition. You have competition in that area too. You see, say for instance, you got to compete to be able to help. That's amazing, but that's the way it is. Because be so many people wanting to help, then you might not be able to get in there and help, you know. So see, it still be a type of competition, but I won't get in that area. I'll talk on that in another topic. But we're going from this materialistic paradigm into a spiritual paradigm. You see, but I will say that you can see, imagine, when people are into the spiritual paradigm, can you imagine, people are competing to try to help, Can you imagine how all that would just be beneficial to the earth as a whole? Everything in the earth would be cleaned up and helped, because people are competing to help. So you can see a change in the world, you see. And you never have this in a materialistic paradigm. It could never be, because the only way you can be classified as being great is by having the most in materialism, because you're on a materialistic paradigm. Anybody with the least in materialism can never be called the greatest, because we're on a materialistic paradigm. You have got to have the most, you see. So, but on a spiritual paradigm, it's different. Who is able to help the most, you see, they're the one the greatest. You see, because you're helping God, you're serving the world, knowing that He's the creator of everything and things. See, we have a job to do as human beings. You know, we ought to join forces with God, and things that we see on the spiritual paradigm that need help or strengthen. That's what we need. That's what we do. We fill that in. God gave us the capacity to work with Him. You know, we look out there. Sure, you say, "Well, God." See, when you go back to that superstition stuff, you think God can just wave a wand, you know, He can clean this up. He can clean up all the water ways. You know, He can clean the air, you know, just wave a wand. And when He got us, what are we supposed to do? What our role is, you know, as His creature. We ought to feel a niche here. And that is to look out and see anything that need help, and then we help that. And then we'll get gratification from it, because people will say, hey, you know, that person really did a good job. And God would say, hey, you're a good servant. And people get gratification from that. But as I said, it's going to be competition, because everybody going to be trying to help on the spirit paradigm, you see. So, but that goes into another area. But the idea that God is the maker of all things He made is good, that's going to be the force that's going to spearhead the spiritual paradigm as we make this transition. And so now the church, with the beast that came up out of the sea, out of the earth, the beast that rose up out of the earth. It's a religious establishment. They have that dragon also, you see. And that's one of the things that I talked about in that circumcision process. You see, it's a perfect system that God got to cause His laws to be established. As Jesus said, I come not to destroy the law, but to see that the law is fulfilled. It's a perfect system. But it's a force operating within this. I don't know what that force is. It's a secretive force, you know. You got some organization out there that operate in the secret, but I won't say anything about that, you know. I don't know who they are. I don't know. I won't even call the name of the organization. But they're carrying out activities that are not in alignment, not with the Constitution nor with the Bible. Because you see, Jesus said a man is supposed to be joined as one flesh with his wife. There's a lot of secrecy about that. I don't know exactly what that means, but as joined as one flesh. I know a marriage, that's joined with law, and of course, the marriage also is associated with the law, because once you've gone through circumcision, you're circumcised into the law. And you also, this is the area that I'm not clear on, I think joined is one with the women, with your wife. You see, the bondwoman. But the church is using this in a way that it is in support of the materialistic paradigm and the beast that came up out of the sea, you see. When you go into circumcision, then you're all right. You see, you're with your wife and you're able to participate in the materialistic paradigm. But those people who God has held out from going into circumcision unto the law and unto the woman, they are the ones that are the souls under the altar. They are the ones who are suffering the most. They're being beheaded. I think beheaded here means that they've been placed in a position where people can read their thoughts and gather their blood, gather their thoughts, which is blood. But the Bible says that in the when they opened the fifth seals, I saw the souls on the authors in Revelation, and the Lamb will open the seal. And they said, how long, O Lord, will you not revenge our blood from those on the earth? And it was told them to, they should rest a little season until some of the rest of their brethren who had died, like they've died, been beheaded. You see, so this is how this thing is taking place. These people are not going into circumcision. They're not a part of this materialistic development. Once you go into circumcision under the law, then you're able to participate in materialistic development. You see, but these people are being left out, and their thoughts are being harvested. And they call it money. Some people of them do, but the Bible calls it blood. And this is what this system. It's another system operating within this whole thing. It's a secretive system. I don't know, but it's there. You see, and in your jails and your hospitals, and I don't know, probably all everything. And it's causing these people to be beheaded. These are the souls under the altar, and they are to wait a little season until. And I know what is happening on this because I had to go through this system. I could not be joined with my wife and with the law, and I guess they beheaded me or whatever they call it. But see, I had that lamb. The blood that I carry is what we're talking about right now. They don't want that blood, but I got to give you this blood. You see, this is the blood. And they tell you how this thing is supposed to come down. And once you start interpreting scripture from the viewpoint of science, then we will see that all this is true. I don't know. There's another force. There's another force out there that operating this thing. It's not part of the Constitution of the United States, and it's not a part of the way the activities say that the Bible say the things supposed, the scriptures say the things supposed to occur. They're operating somehow on their own. They're trying to take over the world some kind of way. You see, and they may have gotten the people caught up in a position where the people just can't do anything. I don't know. It's kind of tight out here. I don't know what's going on, but I have to give you this word. You see, and explaining the ending of this period and the beginning of the next period. You see, but that's what's happening. So when I went through that system, I had a revelation from God, which these other people are having also. Some of them sure have a revelation from God, but some of them God has just saved out from going into captivity, so they can be the first fruit of the Lamb. They can carry this idea. Maybe the people who have gone into circumcision under law, with this other system operated, they can't carry this idea. But those can. They be the first resurrection. They the ones gonna rise first. It's a spiritual thing. It's not a physical thing. You're not gonna have people physical body coming up in the air. I think it's telepathic. To meet the Lamb, which is this ideal in the air. You're not gonna have people physical bodies. That's superstition and supernatural. You see, when you examine the scripture from the viewpoint of science, you drop all that superstition, supernatural, and begin to look at things from a perspective that can be supported by science. Now, there's telepathy out there, and someone carrying the idea all things made by God and all things God made are good. This is in the air, and the people who have been beheaded, they can get that idea. You see, so this is. I don't want to get into all that, but I just want to get this part about what the churches are doing, and I don't know if they are under the control of something and they can't do anything, or they just will not listen. They didn't listen to Jesus, see. But I think they understand me, but they just can't do anything. We've got to work that out some way. Some force are really preventing the church and people from being able to act. And I don't know exactly what it is, but I know God will work it out. The people who are gone into circumcision in these families, they are the throne. They're the throne. You know, John said, I looked and I saw thrones and those who sit upon them, and judgment was given unto them, judge against the lamb or the dragon. You see, the idea, two different ideas. And so it will be, and the dragon will be captured. You see, that idea will be captured. You can't kill it. No one can prove that God is making all things. Therefore, the idea that something made of evil and not made by God cannot be destroyed. You can't just totally eradicate it, because no one can prove that God is making all things. But they can be placed in a position where it cannot be, be a part of actually the foundation of the consciousness of people, of the kingdom that is the conscious mind of people. See, it's serving as a foundation right now. People are operating from that idea. You see, it's gonna be locked in the pit, and in 1,000 years, God gonna reveal how He's making all things. Then it can be gone. You see, it can be gone then. But then the ones who carry the idea, the Bible says, that the lamb through the sword in his mouth is going to bring them in check. You see, that's the way the whole thing come down. In the ending of this period and the beginning of the next period. I try to get all that in. So that's the church, and that's explaining the lamb, the 144,000 are the ones who to get this idea and ensure that they get on top of Mount Zion, which means on top of the religious establishment. People got to be able. That idea got to be there where people can think about it and look at it and recognize that it's the real force. And it has just as much power as the idea of some things made of evil and not made by God. And people become aware that there are only two ideas that can spearhead the moral aspects of the social development by mankind. Only two. The idea of the lamb and the idea of the dragon. And that we've been operating on the idea of the dragon. They've got to come to that recognition. People just, they're not really focusing. They got to, I want this to cause people to focus, to realize what we're doing. You see, and then they can begin to make decisions and think about these different ideas. So I try to get all that in on this. So this is the ending of this period and the beginning of the next period in social development. I hope I got it all in on the summary on that. I think I did. So I'm gonna start on another topic. I'll be coming during these sessions throughout the rest of this year.